It was past midnight when we pulled up to the old farmhouse. Nothing but corn stubble and frozen dirt stretching in every direction. The sky hung low and colorless. There were 6 of us. Logan driving his beat-up Silverado, Kendra and Marley in back, Jess and Sean riding up front, and me, Nate. I only came along because I'd been hoping to get closer to Kendra that night. She always hung around the edges of things, like she was too good for all of us but couldn't stay away. Had a thing for her since 4th grade, but never acted on it until now. Boots crunched gravel as we made our way up the overgrown driveway. Logan had picked this abandoned Broadacre farm because his cousin swore it used to be a meth lab, long cleared out by the cops. I figured he probably hoped to find some old equipment that was still usable for his own lab, though he never said it outright. The rest of us were just looking for a place where we could fool around without being disturbed. Nobody ever even came near this place, so it was perfect. The plan was to find someplace empty, turn the music up, drink, get high, maybe hook up if things lined up right. The place looked abandoned, paint stripped down to bare wood, windows boarded up or cracked like old teeth. I remember thinking it felt like the kind of place you'd find a body, which only made it better. The truth was, there wasn't much to do in a town like Owosso, other than get on the piss and do stupid shit. This area was in decline, had been for decades. We slipped in through a side door hanging off its hinges. The farmhouse was old, 2 stories with creaking wooden floors and walls paneled in faded pine. It must have been a family place once. Pictures still hung crooked on the walls, their glass cracked, faces faded. Inside, it was warmer than we expected. The living room still had furniture, 2 moldy couches, a broken recliner, a coffee table stained with something dark. The ceiling sagged slightly in the middle, and one of the windows was boarded up with mismatched planks. The air smelled faintly like dust and dead mice, but after a few minutes, we didn't care. We set up in the living room because it felt more warm and clean than the rest of the house, and the bathroom was just down the hall. Of course, there was no running water or even electricity, but we didn't give a damn. Logan tossed a case of beer onto the coffee table. Kendra flicked her lighter, burning sage-scented incense like that would make the place less cursed. Marley pulled out a Bluetooth speaker, filling the silence with distorted bass. We passed pills around, chasing them with cheap beer. For a while, it felt almost normal. Almost. After a couple beers and a few pills, Marley and Jess decided to explore upstairs. I stayed back with Kendra, trying not to stare at her too much, while Logan fiddled with the speaker connection. 10 minutes passed before Marley leaned over the banister, calling down to us with that shaky grin she always wore when she wasn't sure if something was funny or terrifying. "Guys," she said, voice echoing, "you gotta see this." We stumbled up after her, already half drunk and unsteady. The upstairs hallway was narrow and cold as hell. The walls up here were bare wood, splintering in places, wallpaper peeling off in long yellow strips. At the end of the hall, one of the bedroom doors hung half off its hinges, swaying slightly like it had been forced open too many times. Inside, the scene hit us all at once. A ton of bones scattered across the bedroom floor. The old carpet was mostly rotted away, replaced by warped wooden boards stained dark in patches. Bones littered the entire room, stacked against the walls, piled in the corners like someone had been hoarding them. Mixed sizes, some clearly animal, spindly legs, gnawed ribs, but not all. One femur was too long, too straight, no animal joint at the end. There were scraps of clothing mixed in, rotted down to threads. Sean crouched beside one pile, pointing at something at the bottom. A skull. A human skull. Before anyone could say a word, Logan reached in with both hands, sick grin on his face. "Jesus, man," Sean muttered. But Logan just dug it out and held it up like some kind of trophy. The skull was old, yellowed, and cracked. One side caved in like it had been hit with something heavy. The other side was covered in strange marks, long, shallow grooves, not knife cuts, almost like teeth. Logan turned it in his hand slowly, inspecting it with a kind of casual fascination that made my skin crawl. "Maybe some serial killer dumped him here," Sean said again, voice even lower now. But none of us were buying it. No human could leave bite marks like that on a skull. That's when I noticed the smell. Thick, cloying. Not just dust and mold. Meat smell. Like something left out too long in the sun. It crept up from the vents and floorboards, heavy enough to make my throat close up. Kendra gave me a look. I tried to play it cool, but I knew she smelled it too. Honestly, I already felt like coming along had been a mistake. The whole night felt off. If it wasn't for Kendra, I would have been out the door the second Logan pulled that skull up. I hated that guy. Logan was the classic deadbeat bad boy, always stirring shit up just to get attention and see who'd applaud. Only difference tonight was, this wasn't some dumb prank or stolen beer. This was real. People had died in here, and something didn't add up. We headed back downstairs after that, quieter now, like we didn't want to wake something up. Marley killed the music. Nobody said it, but we all felt it. That weird shift in the air, heavier and colder than before. Of course, Logan took the skull with him, like some sick souvenir. Around 2 in the morning, Kendra stepped outside to smoke. I followed, figuring maybe this was my shot. She was leaning against the railing, shoulders hunched, lighting up with that old silver lighter she always carried. I stepped up next to her, hands in my pockets. "You good?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She blew out a slow stream of smoke. "Yeah, just needed some air. That room upstairs, it's effed up." "Yeah," I said. "This whole place is." We stood there like that for a minute, saying nothing. The night was dead quiet except for wind scraping across the corn stubble. Then I opened my mouth to say something else, something about maybe getting out of there, when we both heard it. A low screech, far off but close enough to cut through the cold. Not a coyote, not a fox, something else. Kendra flicked her cigarette, eyes narrowing. What the hell was that? Before I could answer, we heard a scream. Jess's voice, sharp and sudden, from somewhere out by the barn. We bolted down the steps, slipping on ice patches. By the time we hit the dirt, Jess was gone. Just her boot lying in the mud, half sunk, and next to it, deep drag marks in the frozen ground, leading into the collapsed part of the barn. That was the first time I saw it. A shape in the shadows, crouched low and half hidden behind the broken barn wall, hulking and misshapen. Bigger than any wolf or dog, but nothing clean about its size. Its shoulders were grotesquely broad, sloping unevenly, as if its bones didn't quite fit right under the skin. One leg dragged behind it, stiff and bent at a sick angle like it had been broken long ago. The thing's skin looked patchy, stretched too tight in some places, and covered in dark, coarse fur in others. Its head turned slowly, unnaturally slow. When its eyes caught the porch light from the house behind us, I felt my stomach twist. Not glowing, not red, but somehow familiar, almost human, not animal, not sane, like it remembered what it used to be. Logan whispered, "No way," voice rough and flat like he didn't even believe himself. None of us moved. I could hear my own pulse hammering in my ears, loud as a drum. Kendra gripped my arm tight, her nails biting through my sleeve. Sean swallowed hard, stepping back so slow, it was like he thought moving fast would set the thing off. We just stood there, frozen, waiting for someone to make a move. The thing didn't charge. It just watched us, muscles twitching under that patchy skin, like it was deciding what we were worth. Then, slow as rusted gears grinding to life, it began to move, forward, one dragging step after another, its shoulders hunching higher, head lowering. A deep, guttural growl rumbled out of its chest, low and steady, like it wasn't hunting yet, just warning, telling us to get lost. A sound that felt old and hollow, shaking the air between us like it carried weight. None of us could move. It kept coming until it stood right at the edge of the barn's shadows, barely lit by the porch light, its breath fogging in slow, deliberate huffs. We ran. No one said anything. No one argued. Back into the house, slamming the door behind us, all 6 of us minus Jess. And just like that, it was like she'd never been there. No one shouted her name. No one even looked back. Marley locked the door, Logan was shoving furniture against it like that was gonna help. So much for loyalty. When that thing was right in front of us, survival was the only thing that mattered. We crowded back into the living room, the place that had felt safe just an hour ago. Now the sagging ceiling and boarded windows felt like a coffin. Logan dropped the skull on the coffee table with a hollow thump. The music was still off, just our breathing and the scraping of boots on wood. Kendra whispered, "It took her, damn it. It took Jess." We didn't all agree on what it was, not right away. Logan said it had to be some kind of bear. Marley whispered it looked like a werewolf. Sean, quieter than usual, said something about the Michigan Dogman, an old story his uncle used to tell. That made Kendra curse under her breath. "Does it matter what we call it?" I snapped, voice shaking. "It's real. It's out there." Sean peeked out the window, pulling one of the boards aside just a crack. His breath caught in his throat, and his voice came back hoarse. "It's out there. It's circling." We all leaned in as he kept watching, barely daring to blink. A second later, Sean flinched back, eyes wide and pale. "I saw it again. It's in the yard, halfway between here and the barn." He wiped a hand down his face, voice shaking harder now. "It looked right at me, like it knew." I pressed up against the wall, heart hammering. Through the gaps in the boards, I caught flashes, that hunched silhouette moving slow, dragging its leg, passing in and out of view. Every few seconds there'd be a noise outside, a growl, a moan, or one of those weird screeches. That meat stink from upstairs was much thicker now, like it wasn't just coming from the walls anymore, like the whole place was drowning in it. We couldn't stay locked up in that house. Everyone knew it, but no one wanted to be the first to say it. Logan kept pacing, hand clenched around that damn skull like it was for good for anything. Kendra kept glancing at me, and I could tell she was waiting for me to come up with something, to take charge and somehow fix this mess. Sean peeked again, then slammed the board back into place, face pale as a ghost. "It's right by the porch now, just standing there, sniffing," he whispered, voice shaking worse than before. I saw its breath in the cold, and its hand, if you can call it that, pressed against the glass for a second, like it knows we're watching. His fingers trembled as he stepped back, wiping sweat off his forehead, even though the room felt ice cold. That did it. I grabbed Kendra's arm and whispered, "We have to get out of here, fast and quiet." Surprisingly, I did indeed have a plan forming in my head. "We make noise at the back of the house," I explained, after motioning everyone to come closer, keeping my voice low. "Bang on the walls, throw something. Make it think we're trying to get out that way. Then we make a break for the truck out front and get the hell away from this place." Logan overheard and snorted like it was stupid, rolling his eyes and muttering something under his breath about how it wouldn't work. Typical Logan, always playing the tough guy until things got real. But when both girls nodded, Marley clutching her arms tight, Kendra dead serious, he shut up quick. It wasn't perfect, but it was all we had, and even Logan knew it. We quietly spread out through the house, searching for anything we could use to make noise or fight the dogman off if we had to. Marley grabbed an old metal pipe from beside the fireplace. Sean found a broken billiard stick and started sharpening one end with his tiny pocket knife, turning it into a makeshift spear. I picked up a rusted hammer from the kitchen counter, probably left behind years ago. None of it felt like enough, but it made us feel less helpless. At least we wouldn't go down empty-handed. Before making our move, we huddled up again, hammering out the last details. One of us would sneak out the back door, armed and ready to draw the thing's attention. Another would stay close to that same door, ready to slam it shut as soon as the creature took the bait. The other three would hold position in the living room, acting as spotters through the windows. One of them, Logan, would be ready to bolt the second the others gave the signal, making a straight run for the truck. It wasn't a great plan, but it was the only shot we had. I didn't fully trust Logan to wait for everyone if he did make it to the truck, but he had the keys. Taking them from him would certainly mean a fight, and we simply couldn't afford that in that moment. The house felt too small, every creak under our boots echoing like gunshots. We were out of time. Nobody said anything. No one volunteered. Everyone just stood there, looking at each other like maybe someone else would step up. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "I'll do it," I said, voice low but steady. Kendra shot me a look, but I didn't back down. Someone had to do it, or we'd all die in there. I took the billiard spear from Sean, feeling the weight of it in my hands. It was the better weapon for what I was about to do, as had a better reach than the hammer I'd grabbed earlier. The hammer could come in handy if we had to fight the beast inside. I handed Sean the hammer, squeezing his shoulder once. "Stay close to Logan," I told him, voice low and firm. "Make sure he doesn't take off without us." Sean gave me a tight nod. No argument. Sean, Logan, and Marley were supposed to stay in the living room, acting as spotters through the windows. Kendra waited by the back door, ready to slam it shut as soon as I made my move. Then I cracked the back door open a few inches, the cold hitting me in the face again, sharper this time. We hadn't seen the Dogman in a few minutes. That was the worst part. It had been circling before, steady and deliberate, but now it was just gone. No sound, no movement, no clue where it might be waiting. That made every shadow look deeper, every breath feel tighter in my chest. I stepped out, moving slow, the spear clenched tight in both hands. My boots crunched gravel with every step. I banged the butt of the spear against the porch railing once, twice. No movement, no noises, just cold air and silence. Kendra hissed my name from behind the door, but I ignored her, stepping further out into the open. I made it all the way to the edge of the yard, heart pounding, thinking maybe it was gone. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, a flash of movement between the silos. I whipped around, raising the spear. The Dogman came out of the dark like it had been waiting, low to the ground, teeth bared. I barely had time to shout before it lunged, knocking me off my feet. The spear slipped from my hands as I hit the ground hard, air blasting from my lungs. Its weight was unbelievable, pressing down through my chest like a truck. I managed to twist, scrambling, boots slipping on the wet gravel. From the house, I heard Kendra yell my name. Someone inside the house was screaming as well, but all I could focus on was the beast above me, its face inches from mine. Its skin was almost black and stretched too tight over jagged cheekbones, matted fur surrounding its disgusting face. Its muzzle was twisted, asymmetrical, with one side caved in like it had taken a shotgun blast that never healed right. Teeth jutted at odd angles, stained dark and broken. Its eyes stared into mine as it prepared to end me. Hot breath flooded my face, the stink of blood and rot choking me. So thick and foul it felt like I was breathing through a wet, filthy rag left to rot in a slaughterhouse. Then came a sharp cry from behind it. Kendra. Before I even knew what was happening, she charged. I caught a glimpse of her out of the corner of my eye, swinging the hammer with both hands like she meant to kill. The blow landed square on the side of the thing's head with a sickening crunch, snapping its muzzle sideways. It was enough to drop it for a second, giving me the precious second I needed. I drove my knee up into its side and rolled away. I grabbed the spear, scrambled to my feet, but there wasn't enough time to run. The Dogman was already getting up and turned towards me. Without thinking, I spun around, holding the spear out in front of me, both hands locked on tight. The Dogman was already charging, shaking off Kendra's hit like it was nothing. It didn't have enough time to react and lunged right into the spear tip. For a split second, I felt resistance as the point sank into its chest. The spear shuddered in my grip, the wood creaking. Then there was a sharp crack, and the shaft snapped clean in half. The thing didn't even slow down and barreled right into me. I hit the ground hard, but managed to roll as the Dogman stumbled past, thrown slightly off balance by the broken spear lodged in its chest. I scrambled to my knees, grabbing the other half of the spear. Kendra was beside me in an instant, hammer in hand, face pale but set. Then I caught the flicker of headlights bouncing off the trees. Logan had the truck moving, engine howling like it was as desperate to get out as we were. The Dogman lunged toward me again, its claws flashing in a wide, brutal arc, aimed for my head. But I ducked low, twisting sideways just in time, adrenaline screaming through my veins. The air split with the sound of its claws tearing through empty space right where my neck had been a second before. That's when the truck came barreling through the yard, headlights cutting across the dark like a blade. The impact was brutal. The front bumper hit the creature square in the ribs with a crunch that echoed off the silos. Flesh and bone gave way with sickening resistance. The dogman was lifted off its feet, limbs flailing, and slammed into a rusted tractor about 20 feet behind me, hard enough to knock the entire thing sideways, leaving a dent the size of a coffin. For a second, everything went still. Logan floored the brakes, tires skidding on gravel and frozen dirt. The engine roared as he reversed, backing up fast enough to spin the tires. Steam hissed from the grill where blood and fur had caught in the metal. I staggered back to my feet, eyes locked on the thing crumpled against the tractor. Its body twitched once, then twice, but it didn't get up. Not yet. I didn't wait to see if it would. I grabbed Kendra's arm, pulling her with me as Logan's truck skidded to a stop beside us. Marley flung open the door from the back seat, face white as a sheet. We dove in, piling into the cab without a second thought. Logan didn't even wait for the door to shut. Tires spun on the frost-hardened dirt, and then we were tearing down the driveway, engine screaming, frost and gravel kicking up behind us like we had hell itself on our tail. Weeks later, only two of us were still around to talk about it. Me and Kendra. Marley, Logan, Sean, gone. They all packed their stuff the next day and left the town for good. Me and Kendra stayed. We didn't say much about it at first. What was there to say? But over time, we started meeting up more often. Sometimes just sitting in silence. Sometimes wondering what the hell we were still doing here. Kendra talked about leaving too. Heading west, maybe. Somewhere more promising. I told her I didn't know if I could. Part of me felt like I had to do something, like I had to keep watch, like if we left it might just continue snatching people, and no one would be the wiser. But if I stayed, was I supposed to do? I wasn't a hunter or a soldier. Would have just gotten myself killed if I tried to take that thing down on my own. The farmhouse got cordoned off. Official tape, bright yellow and sagging in the wind, but no real investigation. Locals whispered about it now, talked about the Michigan Dogman like it was just another campfire story. But I knew better. I could still smell that meat stink some nights when the wind blew right. And sometimes, laying awake in my room with the lights off, I'd hear it. Furniture creaking like something too big for any room was shifting its weight just out of sight.